Well, my name's Donald. I got better hair. So.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. And I know my clapper. I forgot.
Sure, yeah.
But, take one.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much, and thanks so much for the opportunity.
My
Donny.
pleasure, Paul. How are you?
I'm great.
Good to see you.
Thanks for taking the time. So, we're here in Las Vegas, and of course, the first thing I want to ask you about is your new furniture line. You know, it's exciting news. It's been in the press, and it's making people are starting to talk about it. And of course, tell me about it. Right?
Well, anytime you break into an industry, it's met with a little contempt because, like, what are you doing in our world? And this started about 7 years ago. My wife and I had this idea it was a little hobby, basically. And let's just start with some accessories and a couple things here and there, what we do in our home. And we had no idea that 7 years later it would be what it is now. It's just exploded all over the country. It's in stores all over the place. And there's galleries opening up. We're just about to open one in Kansas City at the Nebraska Furniture Mart, here at Walker in Las Vegas, and just all over the place. And it's just exploding.
That's amazing. What is it your furniture does for indoor living places? What is it? How does it enhance?
Well, the first word that pops in my mind is comfort.
Yeah.
It's got to be comfortable. There's a lot of words that associate Donny Osmond Home with the public, and that is affordability. You got to make sure that it's affordable.
Right.
Durability, because making home and family #1 is our mantra. And if family's in there, you're going to have some grandkids jumping up and down on the couch. It's got to be durable.
Right.
But make sure that it's cost effective for everybody.
I get it. Now, you're innovative. You also think about the indoor, but you also think about the outdoor spaces.
We're just about to launch the outdoor. This is something I wanted to get into for several years now. We launched the big box items, the sofas, the upholstery, the dressers, the beds, and all that stuff. But in the back of my mind, I got to get outdoor because that's my favorite room in the house.
It's the extra room, really.
It's the extra room.
Yeah.
Because we have a nice swimming pool in the backyard, and the grandkids come over, our friends come over. There's college parties, high school parties all the time.
Good.
And so we thought we've got to introduce that line into our brand.
That's incredible.
So we met up with a great company that makes the furniture, and Rene, he's such a great guy. He says, let's do whatever you want to do. So Debbie and I just started dreaming.
Good.
And here again, we want to keep the price points down, but it's a new material. It's not rattan, it's called patan.
Right.
And very durable, color fast with the seats and everything.
Affordable luxury, would that be going too far? Or is affordable luxury in terms of it's beautiful, and you.
I hesitate in using the word luxury.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it connotes something that's expensive. And yes, there are some more expensive things in our line, but I'm very careful about that word luxury.
Okay, that's
it's
fair.
more comfort, it's more affordable, because we're not dealing with just a certain generation of people. We're also looking at millennials. In fact, my 25-year-old came to the house here in Vegas because I've been decorating it and finishing it up for the last couple months, and he hasn't been there. He came to Las Vegas to go to the Coldplay concert. And so he stayed at the house last night, and he walks in, he looks at everything, he says, I gotta have this. This is me.
Yeah.
He's 25, so.
Sure.
And then my other son, one of 5, they're coming in tonight with the grandkids, and he just absolutely loves it. So it appeals to the millennials, it appeals to the college kids, it appeals to the baby boomers.
Sure.
So you have to make sure that you have a wide spectrum of interest, because it's so subjective too.
Right.
And that's something that Debbie and I have learned. We may like it, and somebody else might not. So the brand has got to be so wide and varied that it reaches everybody.
Well, that's great. That's great. What I find really interesting is that there's a theme, an underlying theme, a strong one of family and home with what you're doing. What's your inspiration?
My life.
Sure.
Because really, Paul, that's what it is. We didn't sit down with a bunch of marketing experts and say, let's come up with a brand message, because home and family is #1 in my life. I mean, it's organic, it's not concocted, it's not manufactured, and that's when we sit down and design something for the home, we keep that in mind. Is it family friendly? Is it beautiful? Is it affordable? And will somebody want that? Would I want that in my house? I want this in my house. In fact, it is in my house.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah.
What does your house entail? Like, in terms of your
You know
decor?
what's interesting, Paul? People think since I'm in show business, I have this big Beverly Hills mansion and stuff. I don't. our home is a very family-friendly home. The grandkids come over. It's not one of those things where stay off the couch, don't touch this, don't touch that. You know, there is our living room, which is beautiful, and we respect it. That's where we bring guests. But then there's the family room connected to the kitchen, and that's just basically one big room, and that's where everybody congregates. You know.
Do you have a home, like a home, not a home theater, but do you have like a big screen TV?
That's
where
upstairs in the
Okay.
bonus room.
Okay, yeah.
So they can take their dates, and there's a pool table up there, foosball and air hockey, the whole bit.
Wow.
And it's just the playroom.
Okay.
That's where they have the parties.
That's great.
And
I'd like to move in.
oh, it's great. In fact, there's a balcony on it, and I have never finished this, but when we built the house, there's a hook right by the balcony.
Wow.
And there's a hook over by the pool. Zip line.
Oh
Someday.
wow. Okay, that's okay.
And I can talk my wife into it.
Yeah.
But zip line, baby.
I love it.
Right into the pool.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, how's it being here at the Flamingo? It's
Unbelievable,
Yeah.
Paul. We started here with a 6-week contract back in 2008. We had no idea that it would be this long, and we're just about to announce, I guess I could tell you.
Sure.
We just signed the 9th year.
My God. Oh, that's congrats.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
9 years.
That's great. That's great. And how do you like Vegas?
Well, I grew up here basically.
Yeah.
Not literally grew up,
Yeah.
but I started performing here when I was 7. And Shirley Bassey was starring, and we were opening up for her. And of course, Andy Williams and Jerry Lewis and Milton Berle, you know, Sinatra, all these people we've worked with here in Vegas.
Wow.
And I could tell you stories. We could be here for a couple hours telling you stories about working with all those people. But I've really seen this city change over and over and over again, the different incarnations of the city. And I love where it's at right now because you can pretty much get every kind of entertainment. It is the melting pot for the world.
Yeah.
It is the entertainment capital of the world.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
And if you can have a #1 show here, knock on wood, thank you very much, then you're really saying something because there's so much competition in Las Vegas. But if you can do it, if you can make it work, which thank goodness Marie and I have,
Yes.
it's a nice feather in your cap.
Absolutely, and I see if you're high up here in popularity, you're worldwide as well.
You are.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
are.
Kind of
You
like
really
New York,
are.
and New York's another sort of staple for that.
It's a whole different world, the Broadway scene. I've
Yeah.
done that too. I
Absolutely.
love it. In fact, that's what I was doing just before this started. I was
Right.
playing Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, yeah.
And absolutely loved it. And then moved from there. We did a world tour, the last farewell tour with all the brothers, which was legitimately the last one. And then we started this thinking, just a short little run, and then we'll do something else. Wrong.
Wow.
Stay here.
Good for you. Good.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Now, I just want to quickly rewind back a bit.
Okay.
And I'm 45, so I remember your show, Donnie Marie, was always the last show I
You
got.
were probably 5 or something.
I would have been five, yeah, but it was always the show on the week that I got to watch with my pajamas on before I went to bed.
Okay.
So my parents would get popcorn because it kind of the treat.
Right.
But I guess.
Because our show, put you right to sleep? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, I actually got us hyper.
Oh, okay, got it.
Oh, no, it was great. We always, wow. I watched your show religiously with my parents. It was a must.
That's cool. Thank
the
you.
whole neighborhood, everyone, Canada, the U.S., worldwide.
Right.
But what was it like being so famous so young? I always wanted to ask you that question.
Well, it's a great question because I really didn't know any difference. I remember when Michael Jackson and I first met, because we paralleled so much, and then he kind of left me. You know, he went to the stratosphere and left me in the dust in the 80s. But in the 70s, it was just parallel. And the first time we met was in Toronto at the CNE. And they were playing the following night at the grandstand. And they came to see our show.
Oh, wow.
So I remember looking over, and there's Michael in the wings peeking out, looking at me, and thinking, "Boy, watch this, Michael." You know,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
the coolest. But what happened afterwards was really interesting. We all went back to the hotel, and all Michael and I wanted to do was play toys. We just wanted to play, to be little kids. And here we were, you know, huge teeny boppers at the time. It didn't really matter. So to answer your question, I really didn't know any difference until it all went away. In the 80s. I kind of lost the career and I had to rebuild again. But to be that popular at such a young age, I mean, it was on television at 5 years old,
I know.
professionally at 5.
I know.
So that was my world. That was my norm, was to be on television in front of thousands of people.
And this is what when I flew out coming to Las Vegas, I was just telling people I'm coming down here to interview how many women they had told me that, and how many people have you were a teen idol.
Oh, the poster.
The poster, I mean, you know, you were a part of so many people's lives. And
Yeah.
I guess by the time you were a teenager, I guess How did that impact you? I mean, what as you moved on in age, what was that like?
It was a blast. It was so
I
cool.
wish I had your job.
Oh man, I was the envy of every guy. You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Can you put
that's
my
right.
poster on your wall?
Yeah.
It's a funny story though. When I met my wife, she was 16 and 15, and she had my poster on her wall.
Right.
But it was on the back of the door, so no one could see it. You know who was on the front of the door? David friggin' Cassidy.
Oh, okay. That's neat. Can you tell me what inspires you, your creativity? You know, you have a talent for acting. You have a talent for singing, music, everything. Where do you get your creativity from?
Life.
Yeah?
Just life experiences, talking with people, just living life to its fullest. I was just in Hawaii last week, and I said, "We got to take a helicopter ride." My wife, "What?" Says, "We got to take a helicopter ride around Kauai," and you just look at the Nepali coastline and all this, just life's experiences. You've got to enjoy it. You only live once, you know.
That's right.
Enjoy it.
That's right.
And relish those experiences, because when you sit down, you're talking to your kids, your grandkids, you've got something to talk about.
Right.
And it's interesting.
Right.
So when I write a song or when I do a show, or you always grab those life's experiences. I've talked to people and I know people that really just stay in one little town, in one little home, and one little, their life is so simple, and that's great for them. I'd rather be a part of the world.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I try to soak it all up.
In fact, my mind is already going to the next project after Vegas.
Right.
That I've been developing for 6 years. I've got a television show idea that I want to pursue. So when this is over, whenever that's going to be, I want to pursue that.
Good. Good.
'Cause I'm so fortunate, Paul, to be in a position where I can just kind of pick and choose what I want to do now.
That's
I
great.
don't really have to do something. What do I want to do?
Right.
And that's a great place to be.
And you're in charge. You've
Yeah.
got control. That's your control of your life. That's great.
Exactly.
That's great. One thing I've really admired is how you, you said there was in the '80s you had a bit of a sort of a dip in terms of identity. But what I'm fascinated with is how you still have come through every decade out as you've just gone through every decade as Donny, and you haven't done a lot to rebrand yourself. You've just kept doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I kind of did it the hard way, didn't I?
Sure, and that's okay. And that, but look where you are now. You're in one spot. I mean, you could still do an album and still perform here every night. You're in a very good situation. But how did you go through each decade? When and keeping yourself fresh and out front.
Yeah, that's a great question, because every company, every person, every celebrity, they are faced with that decision. How do I reinvent myself? Because careers don't last very long. Even when I was a little kid, maybe 3 to 5 years. Nowadays, it's turnaround is every year.
I know.
Flavor of the moment.
Yeah.
And so everybody's kind of saying, okay, how do I reinvent myself? But you got to be true to yourself. You can't just put on a different hat and say I'm a different person.
Right.
My challenge is that I was the little kid who wore purple socks. I was the kid who sang Puppy Love. I was all that, and it drove me crazy because I tried to get away from all that stuff.
Sure.
Then, at the end of 1989, when Soldier of Love became what was called the comeback of the 80s.
That was great.
And, I love
Awesome.
that record.
Oh man, yeah.
At that point in time, I embraced the Puppy Love, the purple socks. I said, don't try to run away from it. It was you. Let's poke fun at yourself. A little self-deprecation is fine. In fact, it's an interesting story. I was in New Jersey. This is when I was really trying hard to change my image. And I was on stage performing, and the audience kept saying, sing Puppy Love, sing Puppy Love. I didn't want to. I said, no, this is the new Donny. So finally I just gave in. I turned to the band. I said, give me a heavy metal version of Puppy Love. And they were loving it. And they go with Puppy Love. I'm banging on the stage, and everybody's kind of like, oh, that's nice. Obligatory applause.
Right.
Laughter.
Yeah.
So after the show, I'm walking out the stage door to get on the bus, and this lady stops me. She said, why did you make fun of Puppy Love? And I said, condescendingly, it's my song. I can do whatever I want to with it. And then she said something that changed my life. She said, you may have had a hit with that song, but Puppy Love was a big part of my childhood memories, and you have no right to mess with my memories.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Wow.
Stopped me in my tracks, and I realized, embrace your past.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber, he's going to go through it someday. All these people, just be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, reinvent yourself, come up with new great stuff
Sure.
in the future.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you're not starting from ground zero, you're starting below ground zero. You got to overcome that and then summit. But that's what I love about the business.
Absolutely.
And even in Donny Osmond Home, you know, people, like I said right at the beginning of this interview, it's met with contempt when you try to jump into an industry that's foreign to you until you start proving yourself.
Exactly.
And it's now, the momentum is there and people are saying, he's really into this.
Good for you. That's
Yeah.
great. That's really neat. Now, of course, you're diverse. I mean, you're, in terms of your artistic talents, and of course, you were huge in Joseph, the Technicolor Dreamcoat in Toronto. And
Right.
what was that like, being on stage, playing that role, and taking that turn in your career path? And I thought,
Let me give you
I
the
was
full
fascinated. Yeah.
30,000 foot view of that experience, because if you really dig into the history of my life, 10 years, almost to the month, I had failed miserably on Broadway in a musical. It was called Little Johnny Jones.
Okay.
Okay, so here I am 10 years later, and I'm going to do the same thing. What am I thinking? Because Soldier Love just became a huge hit. I worked 10 years to get back on the charts, and now I'm walking away from that. Everybody's saying, Donny, you're not making any sense. I said, I have to conquer Broadway.
Good for you.
I have to do it. Not for any other reason, but for myself. I mean, I can't be afraid of something. So I threw myself into that role of Joseph. And Andrew Lloyd Webber himself is right there, like 4 rows back, opening night. I'm as nervous as could be. All I remember is the curtain going up, and at the end, curtain going down.
I read that.
Did you read that?
And at the end, he came over.
Well,
and
he came on stage.
That's right, and said, he goes, you were the best. You've never seen you better.
I said,
and you were floored.
He said, where have you been keeping that voice all
Yeah,
these years?
yeah.
And but what happened was at the very end, we're all taking our bow, standing ovation, and I'm a little bold in doing this. I invite him to come on stage with us. This is a little bold to do, gutsy to do. And he starts coming on stage. Audience goes crazy.
Wow.
He's standing between me and my co-star Janet Metz, who was the narrator part. We all take the bow, and while we're down, he says, "Where have you been keeping that voice all these years?" And at that point, I had the confidence. Here again, like Vegas, I had no idea it was going to be 2,000 shows, 6 years.
Right.
I thought maybe 6 months. That was the contract.
Right.
6 years later, I thought, I got to get rid of this loincloth. I got to do something else.
Sure. I hear you.
But what a great experience that was.
Yeah.
And it all started in Toronto.
And I remember, I read that story. I remember that. It was, I think it was in the Toronto Star that reported that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were really good to me
They were.
throughout that run.
Yeah. Well, you did a fantastic job, so congrats
you.
on that. How have you juggled everything? I guess I always like to ask people, you've done TV, you do radio, you have records, how have you juggled everything in your life so kind of seamlessly, yeah.
It's all a matter of balancing your life. And I've seen so many entertainers throughout the years of 53 plus years of entertainment. I've seen a lot of people lose it because there's so many great opportunities in show business. It's exciting. The lights and the audience and the sound, and that's the magic of show business. So it's very appealing to want to say, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Family, hold on. Yeah, let's do that. It says, honey, hold on. And that's the biggest mistake people make. They forget the foundation.
Yes.
The family.
Yeah.
Because the curtain's going to close someday. I don't care how talented you are, it will close. But it'll always be your family. So don't ever lose sight of that.
I like that. Yeah, that's. You've also been, of course, quoted. I referenced an Alice Cooper song, and you've.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you've been in a Weird Al Yankovic video. So in other words, you're part of a pulp culture in so many ways.
Yeah.
Now and sort of forever. That's how I see it. What's that like, knowing that you're part of the fabric of American culture on the entertainment level?
It surprises me every day. A couple of years ago, I'm at the Wynn Hotel for a meeting, and I'm walking back to the parking structure, and I forgot where I parked my car. And I had done the singing voice of Captain Shang in the Disney movie called Mulan. Let's get down to business to defeat. And I think, that was one of the cool things that I've done in my life, being a Disney movie. So I'm looking for my car, I can't find it, and I hear my song coming from somewhere in the parking lot. So I follow the music, comes to this van full of these college students from UCLA. And they're just all hungover from the weekend. They're just like, and my music is up to 11. So I walk up to the driver, I knock on the window, and he looks at me and rolls down the window and says, "What?" I said, who are you listening to? He said, Donny Osmond, who are you? I said, I'm Donny Osmond. They all jump out of the bed. Now, these guys are 19, 20 years old,
Yeah.
right, from UCLA. And how do you know me?
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I told them they wanted pictures and autographs. I said, guys, why are you listening to my music? He said, oh, Mr. Osmond, you don't understand how important you are in our lives.
You see, that's what I
said,
mean. Yeah.
Why? He
Yeah.
says, when we come to Vegas and we get smashed or whatever, we got to get back to our studies and we put on Donny Osmond. Let's get down to business.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's like, and then when I won Dancing with the Stars, that opened up a whole new audience.
Yes, of course it did. And what was that like, really quickly? That must have been a huge feather in your cap. What a great feeling.
A week after I won, in the front row, there's this little 10-year-old boy. Doesn't take his eyes off me. And he goes to the meet and greet. He's in line. Closer he gets to me, the more nervous he gets.
Mm-hmm.
He just wanted to shake hands with the champion.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets up and shakes my hand and says, Mr. Osmond, I didn't know you could sing too. He just thought I was a dancer.
Yeah, that's
So it's quite fun for me to look at all the different generations that know who I am, but and know me for different things.
Absolutely. Now, what advice would you have for someone who's considering getting into the entertainment industry?
Run. I love this business, but it's you got to be married to it almost. You've got to take the good with the bad, and there's a lot of bad, and there's a lot of rejection that takes place. And I have a huge career, and still these days I'll get the door slammed in my face because I'm just not right for the part. I'm just not right for this situation. You can't let it get to you because you got to believe in yourself. Unfortunately, that's how we get a lot of egos in this business because you got to have an ego to walk on stage.
Right.
You got to walk on, and I learned this from Elvis. Talking to him and watching him and Sinatra and all these people. You don't walk on stage saying, "Oh, I hope you like me." No, you say, "You're gonna love this."
Good.
But when the curtain closes, and Elvis was great at this, when the curtain closes, you put your pants on one leg at a time. You're just like everybody else. In fact, I make a point to take out my own garbage, to mow my own lawn. I do all my own things like that, fix my own car, and because it keeps me grounded.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I loved Elvis for that.
Wow.
He called the house one day.
No way.
Oh, I'm serious. He loved my mom.
Uh-huh.
Because my mom was like his surrogate mom. Just call her all the time. So the phone rings one day, and my brother Jay, the next oldest of me, answers it. He didn't put two and two together. He says, "Hello." He says, "Is your mother there?" And I said, "Yeah, who's this?" He says, "This is Elvis." And Jay said, "Hey, Mom, some guy named Elvis is on the phone for you." I had no idea it was Elvis Presley.
That's good. That's fascinating. And it's almost like talking to this is history because I'm talking to Donny Osmond, who Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, the Michael Jackson. I mean, the whole works. How is to know people working? You've worked with some of the biggest people of the world in terms of what's that like?
Well, you learn things that you can't learn in a classroom or a textbook.
Yeah.
It's on-the-job trauning.
Yeah.
And to learn comedy timing from Lucille Ball and
God.
Milton Berle and Jerry Lewis.
Wow.
Jerry taught me how to do a pratfall. You don't learn that in a classroom.
No doubt.
And just the stage presence of Sinatra and Andy Williams. It was silk on stage, basically, is what they called it. And I've got a Frank Sinatra story. I got to tell you real fast.
Do it. Absolutely.
So I'm 10 years old, and I'm at Caesar's Palace, and my brothers and I are opening up for Nancy, and everybody was tense, including Nancy. And Frank was the only one allowed to see the dress rehearsal. So Frank was in the booth, surrounded by his guards, and the language that was being dropped, because everybody was really intense. The F-bomb, you name it. And I'm 10 years old. My dad blows a gasket. He walks out in front of Frank and proceeds to rip him a new one. How dare you let this happen? And all of his guards were just about ready to pounce on my dad. And Frank said, "Let him speak his piece." So they sat down, and my dad just let him have it. Wow. Walks away. The next night, he's backstage setting props. And this guy walks up behind him, Guido, whatever his name is. He said, "Are you George Osmond?" And my dad said, Yeah, who wants to know? He said, Frank's got a little present for you. And he reaches in his coat pocket, like he's gonna pull out a gun. And he pulls out an envelope. He said, Frank wanted you to have this. And he walks away. My dad opens it up. And it's a handwritten letter by Frank apologizing for all the language that he didn't do anything about it to stop it. And with it, $1,000 cash.
Oh my God.
This is 1968.
Oh, yeah.
So my dad puts the money in his pocket and throws the letter away. You know, can you imagine the value of that
Oh my
letter?
God, yeah,
it's
yeah.
in a landfill someplace.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Isn't
fascinating.
that a great story?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, listen, this has been a fantastic interview.
Thanks, Paul.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'm just having fun with this. I mean,
Yep.
you know, the band members, the dancers, I've bought them all stuff. I'm just buying stuff for my friends, and I'm loving it because it's comfortable, it's beautiful, it's affordable, it's durable. It's just everything a family wants.
Good.
And my wife and I are working really hard to maintain the quality. Like I said earlier, there's going to be some expensive things because we want to push the quality, but we're always trying to keep that price point down.
Good.
So, but we're having fun.
That's
we're
great.
enjoying it.
You seem like you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers now. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Do you mind if I get a quick photo with you?
That's for audio.